joined by the legendary former Texas Longhorn. I don't think he's ever former Texas Longhorn quarterback, Colt McCoy, preparing for another broadcast this week. Colt, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Well, I had you on to discuss A&M in Texas, and we'll get to that. But what are your thoughts today with Mack Brown having one more game left at North Carolina and the impact, the obvious impact on your career in life?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I obviously love Coach Brown, love his wife, love what he did for me in my career, and I don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on there, but there's not anybody that I've played for that I care about as much as I care for Coach Brown, and he's been a difference maker at North Carolina and Texas and anywhere he's been, and I just love him to death and hate that.
Colt, you were a huge part of this rivalry with A&M, and how much did you, just as an alum of somebody who had a legendary stamp on it, miss watching this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan now. I mean, I was driving to work today, and there was an A&M flag, and then a Texas flag, and then an A&M flag, and then another Texas. So I just think that this game runs deep, and there's bragging rights involved, and so happy that it's back, and what it means to this state. Look, I've got tons of Aggie friends. I mean, in my family, it's just I think, and I'm not the only one. I mean, everywhere I go, there's houses divided, and the buzz and surrounding this football game and what this means to the state, and the fact that it has so many implications. I mean, there's a lot riding on this game for both schools. I mean, you get a chance to go to the SEC championship, whoever wins this game. So, man, I'm pumped. I'm thrilled. I'm happy that it's back, and I hope it never leaves.
Cole, you mentioned you got a lot of A&M folks that you know. Were there a couple of A&M players or even in the pros, A&M guys that maybe if you were going to chalk trash, they were like first on the speed dial, or just the guys you regularly kind of cut up with when it came to A&M in Texas?
Yeah, I talk my fair share. There's no doubt. You played against a bunch of A&M guys through the years, especially as you move on to the NFL. Von Miller, the Bennett brothers, and it's a great program. I think that the rivalry, the in-state. One of the things I loved about Texas getting to go to the SEC was the fact that you really get three of your biggest rivals back. You get to play Oklahoma. That's never going to change in the Cotton Bowl, which is probably the first game you circle. And then you get the old Southwest Conference rivalry back with Arkansas. We took care of business there. And then now you get to play your in-state rival, the old Aggies. And the fact that happens now that we're in the SEC. I mean, that was reason number one why I was excited to make the move over. And this game coming back after 13 years, I mean, I've missed it. Everybody's missed it. So I don't know if there'll be a TV in Texas that's not tuned into this one Saturday night.
Yeah, and there, of course, was a long drought where they didn't play, and I think maybe even egos or whatever were a part of that after Texas A&M went to the SEC. It sounds like you're thrilled. Do you hate that they didn't play for that long, or do you also understand why they didn't play for that long?
No, I don't understand, man. I hate it.
Okay.
That's one of those games that that you grew up watching. Everybody did, and I was a kid. I remember Thanksgiving together with your family, and then you watched the game, and that's what you did. And so it's been brutal not to have that competition, not to have that edge in recruiting, just for all the different reasons. I mean, it's a very fun game to be a part of, and look, Kyle Field's a hard place to play. I mean, it's one of the loudest places I've played, especially in college. And I don't know that this game, these tickets have been sold out for a long time. So it's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. A lot on the line for both teams. But I mean, more than anything, as a fan now, and being able to participate in that game 4 times man, I'm pumped for everybody, for the players especially. I mean, the guys that didn't get to play in this game over the last several years, I'm sure they're frustrated, but the fact that it's back, the fact that we get to keep it now is special, and I hope we're not in a situation where we're not playing each other ever again.
What was it like? Because your brother was the quarterback and won the last one. I mean, the very last one, and that game was, a heart in your throat kind of game. What was it like for you on the outside of that, watching your family have to play in that one, which is so intense as well?
Yeah, I remember Case, getting pinballed down the field and trying to get Justin Tucker in the field goal range and them capping it off. That was obviously pretty cool as a big brother to watch that. I mean, listen, this will be the first time since 2004 McCoy's not playing in this game. How crazy is that?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow, that is, yeah.
What, did I stunt you guys on that one?
No.
I mean, yes, like the last one, yeah. So.
I was trying to process that, actually, like how that worked for that long a period of time.
Colt's talking trash to us. That's
No. I think, listen, there's nothing more than, as a former player, I love than rivalry games, and in college, it doesn't get any better than this. Last week I got to call the USC UCLA game. That was fun. You watch all these other rivals, the in-state rivals, Florida State, Alabama, Auburn. Then you got games like Michigan, Ohio State. Like, all these rivalry games at the end of the year are special. And I think that's what makes college football so much fun. I mean, there's animosity here. There's some pretty deep hatred here. You don't ever see a guy play at Texas A&M and come over and play at Texas, or vice versa, right? Like, you got to pick. And, that's what makes it fun. And, I'll have a bunch of my, A&M buddies, on a text thread Saturday night comes around, cause it's fun. It's a rivalry, and there's bragging rights at stake. And, that's what makes, college football so special. And I'm just so glad it's back.
Colt, you mentioned the high points of being back or being in the SEC was those rivalries returning in many ways. But what have been your impressions of seeing how this schedule has played out, and your impressions of these Longhorns, what you've seen up to this point? Obviously, sitting there with a pretty nice record. Playoff seems like it's right there for the taking, and maybe the SEC championship as well. Hard to expect too much more outside of just that loss to Georgia. So what have you thought about what all you've seen over the last several weeks?
Yeah, we didn't play good against Georgia at all. I mean, there's a lot of things they didn't do well in that game, and they might have a chance to play them again and get a second crack at them. But what I love about this team is our defense. We're pretty stout. And you look at sort of stats throughout the year. I mean, we're pretty much at the top of the SEC when it comes to total defense. Ranked number 1 against passing yards, scoring, not giving up a ton of rushing yards. And so, the stat that I keep going to is our secondary. We're second in the country. We've got 17 interceptions by 11 different players, right? And that causes problems for a young quarterback. And so I think, going into this game, if you're Texas on offense, you got all these playmakers, and you ran the ball well last week against Kentucky, you do a lot of things nicely. Don't ruin the game. Don't turn it over. Our defense is poised to and ready to play, against a team like A&M, and they'll keep you in the game and just let the game come to you. I think that's the biggest thing for Texas. And we talk about rivalry games. I like to always say, play with emotion, but don't get emotional. Right? This is a game full of emotions. It's going to be there. As soon as you walk out onto the field and the Corps of Cadets is marching around the stadium and everybody's booing you, and you're going to feel that. There's going to be some emotion there, but you can't get too emotional in the game. You got to just let the game come to you, play one play at a time, sort of lock in. And so you don't need a rah-rah speech or too many cups of coffee to get going in this one. You'll feel it the moment you walk out there. So it's going to be awesome.
Got a highlight. I want to play it for you. I hope you could hear it through the phone. But, Garrett, this is the last time that you played A&M. You guys won, and you had a monster game, and here's part of the highlights.
McCoy keeps it again, and Colt McCoy racing up the middle of the field. Gone.
You had 304 yards passing, 4 scores, 175 yards rushing, and a touchdown. You were a dual threat guy, no doubt about it. Do you remember that play just like vividly, like many of the other ones you had?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't remembered that. In fact, somebody sent me that. Maybe it was John Bianco, our SID, a couple weeks ago when they were starting to talk about this game. And he was like, "What were you doing at the end of that run?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I went back and watched it. And, again, like this is a rivalry game. Somebody got my phone number the night before the game. And, we don't even stay in College Station. We stayed out in Lake Conroe, just so nobody pulls the fire alarm, you don't get food poisoning, all the little tricks that rivalry games come with, and so somebody had got my number, and I'm sitting in a team meeting, and my phone just starts blowing up, and it's calls, and it's students and frats at A&M, or so it got loose somehow, and like all night long. I mean, I had hundreds of calls and texts like, "We're gonna kill you," all the things. I mean, and so after I scored that run, I start like acting like the football's a phone and like, "Call me again, call me again." And I was like, I usually don't show that much emotion. I just told you, like, you want to play with emotion, but you don't want to get too emotional. At that point, I felt like we were kind of in control of that game, and that was kind of funny. But looking back, it's like I don't know if anybody there knew what I was talking about, but I sure did, and that's what makes it fun.
Were you playing a little angry that day then?
Hey, I think we returned a kick late in the game. I think it was like maybe Marquise returned a kick late in the game, and I remember standing on the sidelines being so mad. I'm always happy when somebody scores or returns a kick that you usually win the game when that happens, but I wanted to go back out there and keep carving them up. I was like, "No, fall down. Like, let me go back out there one more time." But it was fun.
Colt, obviously you had an amazing career, and now you're in the broadcast business, and I've read some of the stories that what you have mentioned about moving into the broadcast booth. It's a tough transition. It's not as easy as some people think. Tom Brady, his first broadcast, he struggled a little bit. I know you've mentioned what you went through. How much now more comfortable do you feel?
Yeah, let me tell you, it's tough. It's not, playing football, you're playing quarterback, you do your series and you come back to the sidelines and you look at the iPad and you see all the, looks and coverages they're showing you, and you try to make a plan. You go back out and get, 8 or 9 series a game. And, now being in the booth, you got to call both sides. You got to call offense, you got to call defense, you got to call special teams. You got to know all these guys' names. You sort of got to, talk a little strategy and scheme on both sides and what you're seeing. And, for 3 hours, and it's hard. And so, there's definitely some, learning and a big learning curve from the first time until now. And, I feel a lot more comfortable being able to talk and, be able to explain some of the things that I'm seeing. There's a lot of thoughts in your head and a little very short time period to get those thoughts out. And sometimes you got to let a thought go because they're up tempo on offense and, moving through the game. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I've come a long ways. It's definitely, something I've worked hard at this year, and we'll see where it goes. But, I felt like, I'm getting, better and better and more comfortable up there. Last week was fun. Called a different rivalry game, USC, UCLA. And, this week I get to call the Nebraska Iowa game. Calling the Nebraska game's tough because those fans hate you already. You got no chance. But it has been cool. It's really allowed me to kind of, just stay in the game. And obviously I love football, and that's been a great opportunity that NBC has given me. And, we'll see how it goes, but it's getting better and better.
Hold on, Cole. I know why. Like, I get why they hate you, but it's not your fault. The ball landed
hit a railing or something that. Yeah,
like that.
Oh. Well, when you beat a proud program like that 4 times, there's always going to be.
All right, we're hanging up on you. No, hey, but seriously though, when you threw that away because Ndamukong Suh haunted you that night, and he is an unbelievable player like you were too, did you really think that you might have one more play left? Did you throw that a little farther than you thought, and it got pretty dicey, and you weren't sure?
Hey, I mean, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me that question, I'd have retired a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, listen, that was we couldn't do anything that game. I mean, they had our number. We didn't have a way to block Ndamukong Suh, Jared Crick. Those guys played some looks with Bo Pelini that I hadn't seen, and I was a senior in college. Like they had a huge plan for us, and we didn't really have much. And I certainly felt like I had more time than what was, and it was so close at the end for when the ball hit the bleachers or whatever it hit on the sidelines. I think a lot of people had to go back to the rule book to figure out what's the actual ruling here. But listen, we were in field goal range. We were just trying to get a few more yards, and you throw it out of bounds and trot the kicker out. I was certain that there was time left on that clock. But when you look back at that game offensively, I mean, we struggled the whole game. We dropped a couple touchdowns early that I think would have changed it, and then all of a sudden you're in a fight, and they were really good defensively. I mean, we almost won through the Heisman, so that was a tough one.
Well, no doubt you kicked the field goal. Hunter Lawrence did to win that game, just like when your brother played A&M the last time. Justin Tucker kicked the field goal to win the game. And so, hey, man, I know you're busy. You've got a broadcast on Friday, so a condensed week. Have fun in Iowa City with that game. And, Colt, you'll be able to sit back, relax, and enjoy, as you mentioned, Saturday evening, A&M and the Longhorns. Thank you so much for your time. Love what you represent in your career.
Hey, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you letting me jump on here and talk this rivalry game. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I'll certainly be tuned in.
Thank you. Colt McCoy, the legend, and also has Iowa-Nebraska Friday evening. And what a run. His first couple of games, I think against A&M, he was beaten and then put a whipping on him his junior year and then won with that 2009 team that was so good.